Now it's time to work up our acetaminophen. As you can see, we have our organic flask which contains ethyl acetate. We're going to start by adding a good sized scoop of magnesium sulfate to the flask, and we're going to swirl it around. Do you see how the magnesium sulfate is still clumped at the bottom? That means we need to add more. The purpose of the mag sulfate is to remove any residual water from the ethyl acetate. Do you see how it's sort of floating around a lot more in solution, sort of like a snow globe? That means we've added enough mag sulfate and we're ready to move on to vacuum filtration. Here you can see the vacuum filtration setup. We have a sidearm flask that is clamped to a ring stand, and then a red rubber hose that is on the sidearm of that flask and connecting it to our vacuum pump. The Buchner funnel is sitting in the top of the flask. We're going to take a filter paper next and place it on top of the Buchner funnel. For this first vacuum filtration, we are looking to save the filtrate, and the solid is actually just waste, so we did not need to pre-weigh the filter paper. I'm now going to seat the filter paper with ice-cold ethyl acetate. The purpose of this is to create a seal between the filter and the Buchner funnel. So you just take a couple milliliters and put it over the filter paper. Then you switch on your vacuum. Now we're ready to slowly pour our solution into the Buchner funnel. You don't want to move too fast because the liquid could splash out, but if you move too slow, then the solid all gets stuck at the bottom. I'm going to take a couple milliliters of that same cold ethyl acetate and rinse my flask with it, trying to transfer as much of our product as possible. Keep in mind though, our product is in the liquid phase, so if I don't transfer all of the solid to the Buchner funnel in this step, it's okay. We can have a little bit left because the solid is just waste. Next up, we're transferring that filtrate into a pre-weighed beaker. The weight is on the next slide. Then we're going to place that beaker on a hot plate that is set to a setting of 3. We want to keep it sort of low because ethyl acetate is flammable, so turning your hot plate up too high could be really dangerous. So we're just now going to wait for that ethyl acetate to boil, and we're going to let it boil until it evaporates completely away. As you can see here, we have got just the teeniest bit of liquid left in our beaker. What we believe happened is that once the ethyl acetate evaporated completely, the acetaminophen actually started to melt a little bit, so the liquid you see here still in the beaker is acetaminophen. So what we're going to go ahead and do is remove the beaker from the hot plate now and let it solidify at room temperature. The combined weight of the beaker and acetaminophen are on the next slide.